Coaches, pop quiz. How long is a piece of string? The reason why I ask, very sarcastically, how long is a piece of string? Because this is the answer to when should I raise my prices. Better is what should I price my coaching program at? Yesterday, I'm on a strategy session, which I love doing, by the way. But I get a lot of insights into how you guys think, how you guys operate. And the majority of the coaches that we connect with have been in the game, sometimes longer than me, but at least 5 or 6 years. And no matter what, we always are going to take a look at your niche and your offer, right? In order for me to get an understanding for your business, I need to make sure that, number one, I need to understand where your niche and your offer is right now. But second, I need to understand it so that we can modify it and make it better as you advance. It's probably the lowest hanging fruit for you watching this in your business right now is tightening up your niche and the messaging, and also tightening up your offer and making better, more juicy, no-brainer offers in the marketplace. It's one of the things that are going to help catapult you over the next 12 months if you focus on these things. And on a strategy session, and I am recommending for this for you as well, your job isn't to be coaching. That's what you do when your prospect becomes a client, makes the investment, and joins your program. So your job on a sales call, strategy session, is never to do any coaching. In fact, when you find yourself going into coaching mode, I want you to take a little note, and I want you to track this, and I want you to see how the conversion rate is affected. When you coach, do they join? Do they typically sit on the fence longer, or do they not join? And do they go off to try to implement what you coach them on, feeling like they maybe got some help, got what they needed, and now they can move on? And so yesterday I'm on a strategy session, and during the chat, we're talking about the most important things, right? Your niche and your offer. And the fine gentleman on the other side of the line was like, well, that's a good question. Like, I always wonder, what should I price my offer at? And my response was, how long is a piece of string? If you're thinking about raising the price of your offer, raise the dang price. If you have been on the fence about raising the price of your offer, raise the dang price. I'm making this video right now in October 2022. And I don't know about you, but when you turn on the news, when you go to the Starbucks drive-thru, when you go and put gas in, what do you notice? Right now, if we take a snapshot of the economy, not just in the United States, I just defined all of these luxuries, you might be watching this somewhere else in the world, and if you're not in the US, you're probably experiencing inflation far worse than what we've had here in the States. Everything costs more, and inflation is a slow leech at your wealth, aka your power. So when you hear about inflation and when you're paying more for any goods out there in the marketplace, I want for you to be picturing your power and your wealth being leached from you. These are the dangers of currencies not backed by anything tangible. That's a story for another day, probably for another channel. Maybe a one-on-one conversation. Happy to talk about these things. So if you're thinking about raising your prices and it's October 2022 or later, you should have raised your prices months ago, if not month after month, as we've been seeing these trends. And I'll get back to how I recommend you actually go about raising your prices here in a second. If you have not raised your prices and inflation is going on, which it is, then you're losing money when you're signing up a new client. And if you haven't raised your prices since all of this inflation stuff, basically since the last election has happened, then you are losing money, leaving money on the table, okay? Every client you're signing up, that's a big win, but it's not a win if you're not making as much as you were before. And is that fair to your other clients that are in your program? Probably a question for another video, but I don't think it is. You have to answer that for yourself. So if you're watching this right now and you haven't raised your prices, raise your prices. If you have raised your prices over the last 6 to 12 months, great job. Chances are you still have an opportunity for bumping them up slightly. My recommendation to this gentleman for what to do to raise your price, because he mentioned something about experimenting and having some resistance of some kind, which I totally understand, but we got to push you through that resistance to get you to the next level. And we have to solidify your confidence in the results you bring for your clients. So if you have clients right now, you're getting them results and you haven't raised your prices. This is going to be an easy way to get a little bit of a confidence boost and to remember the value that you bring. This gentleman also asked, when he said, how should I raise my price? I said the answer is, and I think this is a Dan Kennedy thing, if I have that correct, is you should price your program as much as you can like when you say the price, it should be as high as you can say it without smirking, as like a rule of thumb. Now, I know that doesn't give you any insights for what to do or step by step. So if you're watching this right now and you're thinking about raising your prices, number one, raise your prices. Number two, what I want for you to do is add $500 to $1,000 minimum, and I want you to position that on your next strategy session or your next sales call. And then what I want for you to do is when you get the next person to sign up at that new rate, you're going to bump it up another $500 to $1,000 after. I want you to do that a minimum of 3 times. And what you'll end up seeing through this is as you get confident, the price starts to become something that's not as worrisome to you, that you get excited about positioning. And when you say it with confidence, the person on the other end will still buy. So if you're wondering right now, should you raise your prices? The answer is yes. And if you want to know what to price your offer at, how long's a piece of string?